This card does not still work as originally intended, but it does still let you tap your opponent's lands for mana. Piracy has only ever been printed in starter sets, which is really weird for a card with such a specific and complex effect. For 2 blue mana, it says, this turn you may tap lands you don't control to help pay for your spells. And the current Oracle text is about the same thing. Until end of turn, you may tap lands you don't control for mana, and you can only spend it to cast spells. When Piracy was printed, this ability on Yurlok was just a regular rule in the game called mana burn. So if your opponents made the obvious move of tapping all of their lands in response to Piracy, then at least they'd take damage equal to the lands they tapped. So then what can we actually do with this card? So many hyper-specific plays and setups. Oh, and one rules argument. Forcing your opponents to tap out for 2 mana is not terrible, and depending on what you've got on the board, it can be much, much worse. Storm Cauldron is particularly funny because those lands are going back to their hands no matter what, whether you tap them or they tap them. But we can also use Piracy to demonstrate a personal pet peeve of mine. Our opponent was smart, and when we cast Piracy, they tapped all of their lands, so you target them with Turnabout to untap all of their lands. But they just go, okay, I'll just tap them again so you can't use them. They can't do that! When your Turnabout resolves, priority returns to you, and players can only activate mana abilities when they have priority or are casting a spell, which means they have priority anyway. So in this case, you will be able to use all of their lands to at least pay for your first spell. And here's the pet peeve part, which I see happen all the time in Commander games. Somebody casts a board wipe and somebody else has a bunch of mana dorks or mana rocks on the board, and everybody checks to see if somebody's gonna counter it, and they don't. And then that person goes, oh, okay, so I'll just float the mana. You can't do that. You have to float the mana when you get priority. You can't wait for all 3 other players to say, well, I'm not gonna counter it, because at that point, the spell resolves and your stuff gets blown up. Now, do I ever call anybody on this? No, because it's a lot of specific knowledge and it usually doesn't make a big difference, but if you catch somebody doing it in CEDH, hit them with the rules check.